Today, I really want to welcome just such an extraordinary person. Looking at her life, she's just has this unbelievable mastery and balance, whether it's this high stakes career that she has, a beautiful and fulfilling personal life, and having watched or been a part of her fitness journey over the past 2 years going to the same gym, I've seen her nothing but disciplined, showing up, super consistent. But what's so great is she always has a smile on her face and she's always super friendly and super willing to just share a good laughter at the gym. Tonight in this interview, we'll share how she consistently performs at the highest level year after year after year after year. And, any advice she wishes she give her younger self. Her journey is a testament to clarity, commitment, and vision, one that we're hoping inspires you to make a shift in your own path forward. So without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Paige. Paige, the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and give us a little rundown on who you are and what we should know about you.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that very amazing intro. Super flattered and yeah, super happy to be with you guys here this evening too, and to sharing my story with you guys and hoping you can pick up on a couple nuggets and maybe even me getting some nuggets from you guys as well. But my name is Paige. I'm 29. I'm from Wisconsin, Brookfield area, born and raised. I went to UW Milwaukee for college. And I got my undergrad, double majored in accounting and finance, and then I got my master's in accounting, and also have my CPA or certified public accountant license as well. So for work, I work in public accounting, so at Ernst& Young or EY, and I work on the audit side of things. So essentially, simply said, I go into companies and make sure that their financial statements are materially correct. So I work primarily with public companies that are publicly traded and issue financial statements quarterly and annually, and have to comply with internal controls as well. And then I also work with private clients in that space as well. So I've been with EY since 2018 is when I started full time. So been there for about 6 years now. I'm now an audit manager, which I really love. I love being able to manage a team and kind of bring other people up along with me and coach them along the way. And I love, having our interns and our new staff start and just being able to help develop them and see them kind of come up along the way and have those kind of light bulb moments as they go through and find their passion too. Um, so as far as other areas of my life, so I married my high school sweetheart. So I have him in the slide there. That's Kyle. We started dating our senior year in high school, and then we both went to UW Milwaukee together, and got married just a little over 3 years ago now, which is kind of crazy. We don't have any kids yet, but we do have two cats, Ollie and Ava. So Ollie is the black one in the picture, and then Ava is the orange one in the picture. So we love them. They give us lots of laughs and lots of joy in our lives. So they're great. Um, but then in terms of, I want to touch on my personal purpose statement that I have in this slide. So to mentor and inspire growth in others so everyone feels empowered and unstoppable to pursue their passions. So this is a purpose statement. At EY, we have a program called Pathway to Purpose, where you essentially kind of it's like a 4-hour course and you go through and you refine and define what your personal purpose statement is. And this is something that I hold true to myself and kind of an overarching and guiding principle that I have that I use as I continue my journey. And that's kind of like my overarching, what is my why? And that helps guide me through my decisions, both at work and my personal life as well. So I love connecting with other people and just seeing them thrive and flourish in their passions is something that I get a huge amount of joy in. So that's kind of the outside of fitness, if you will, and within public accounting too, just for some context, Heather alluded to it a little bit, but it's a very, very demanding job for sure. They told me this going into it. I don't think I fully appreciated it, but essentially I have the busy seasons, as I call them, and I have more than one because it depends on my clients, essentially their fiscal year ends, but 12/31 is a really busy time. So I just kind of wrapped up a busy time. It was shorter this year, but essentially like January through essentially this past week was really busy for me and really busy like I would say 70 hours is like a lighter week. I've had, up to 90, 95-hour weeks at times too, where I'm doing that and still trying to get to the gym as much as possible. So that is something that I've had to balance with bodybuilding, and taught me that balance and taught me to prioritize and organize and have that mindset throughout life, essentially, in every aspect. But more so in regards to fitness and bodybuilding and kind of like where I got to where I am now. Back in college, I started working out, and going even back to like middle school, high school, and then into college, I actually struggled with disordered eating. So I always wanted to be skinnier. I still remember like the Abercrombie and Fitch bags and all their advertisements and everything. Like that's what I wanted to look like. So how I tried to look that way was essentially depriving myself of food. And that relationship, unhealthy relationship with food was on and off from again middle school all the way until like junior year of college. I battled with that. And it wasn't until junior year in college that I started seeing on Instagram, it was, I feel like a trend at that time of all these women posting of, oh, I'm lifting weights and I'm eating more food and I'm feeling really good and my body's looking better. I was like, what the heck? Like, that seems so cool. I'm like, I want to try that. So my now husband, but boyfriend at the time, he took me to the essentially our university's weight room that I had only previously done cardio at. And he started showing me how to properly lift weights because he did track and football in high school. So he was well versed in this. So I started lifting weights. I started really liking it as well. And then I found out about the whole concept of macros and if it fits your macros and being able to diet with a purpose of getting your protein in and then having the balanced carbs and balanced fats and tracking your food and that allowing you to get closer to your goals. So with that, I started to see that same change of eating more and lifting heavier and seeing my body change and kind of take shape because I was gaining muscle. So at that same time, I saw people that I had gone to high school with and other people just in the area and stuff doing these bodybuilding competitions. And I thought it was so cool. I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, I want to do that. That seems like amazing. Well, at the time in college, unfortunately, bodybuilding is not a cheap hobby. It is fun, but it's not cheap. So I didn't have the financial means to do it. I started looking into it. I was like, maybe I can coach myself. No, definitely not. I'm glad I did not do that either because it probably would have been a disaster. I still would not coach myself to this day. You just need that second set of eyes to be able to guide you in my opinion. Some people can do it, but it wasn't until I started full time, I got this itch. And it was just one day. I was actually out of town for a client, but we were driving out to the client site. And for whatever reason, I just had this light bulb moment of like, I'm going to do it. I'm gonna get a coach and I'm gonna do it. I want to try it. I now have the income to be able to support that. So I ended up reaching out to it was somebody that I had gone to high school with and we were friends and she had got her pro card and she was coaching people and it was somebody that I trusted. So I asked her, she became my coach. So that was 2018, fall of 2018. And then 2019 is when I did my first show and I competed in the women's figure category. And then essentially every year since 2019, I've competed in bodybuilding shows. So when I first started it, I wasn't necessarily great at it, but I had this desire and this passion. And the thing that I love about bodybuilding is it makes you always want to become a better version of yourself. And the goalpost is always it never is at like a final goal. Like it is always moving, which is something that keeps me consistently motivated, I'll say. And it's allows me not to get bored too, because whether it's I'm prepping for a show or just in the off season, or just training and trying to get stronger, I always have that goal and that vision that I'm working towards. So essentially from 2019 until now, what I've accomplished is 2021 is the first time that I won an overall title, which means so there's different height classes in the local shows. So if you win your height class, then you go up against everybody else that won their height classes in your division. And then whoever wins that is the overall winner of the show. So 2021 was the first year that I won an overall. And that was kind of like the first moment of like, oh my gosh, I just did that. I never thought that was possible. Okay, so now it's possible. So 2022, I competed in my first national show. I got last place. And maybe actually I can go ahead one slide too. and just kind of show, because I have a start to finish, which I thought would be cool, of where I started to where I ended. So June 2021 was that first overall title. 2022, I competed in a local show, so that's the first one of 2022. And then the next one for that's actually July of 2022 as well, all the way top far right. That was my first national show. I got last place. But again, I've at that time, I've had won, but I had lost more than I'd won. I didn't let that discourage me, and I continued. Come 2023, that was my second national show. So I did one kind of warm up show, if you will, in May 2023. Then in June 2023 was my second national show. And that show I placed kind of middle of the pack. I think I was 13th out of 23 girls, maybe. And honestly, I was stoked about that. I was like, I just don't want to get last place. I don't want to get last call outs. I was in second call outs. I was honestly just so happy that I was in the mix and working towards that goal. And then July 2023 is actually when I switched coaches to someone that was just a little bit more experienced and a little bit better at kind of dieting people down. And I actually switched from my old coach to him a week out from my show in July 2023, which was a local show just to kind of finish up the season. And not only did I have a new coach going into that show for women's figure, I told him, hey, so I've always had this itch to do women's physique. Can I hop into women's physique? And he to this day still is, if you have an itch, I will support you. I will help you achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, whatever your goal is. Let's do it. Let's crush it. So a week before the show, I learned how to do women's physique posing. I choreographed my own women's physique routine that was, I think it was 90 seconds long. Um, Went into the show, ended up not only winning the overall award for women's figure, but also won the women's physique overall as well. And that was another moment in my journey of just being like, wow, I cannot believe I just did that. I had this crazy idea and actually be able to see it fulfilled. And I got a lot of good feedback from the judges and other people too, of just they loved the posing and the women's physique. They said, you were beaming up there. You're so happy. So that was another time where I was able to find a huge passion of mine in women's physique. So then going into 2024, I did 4 total shows. And the original plan was only 3, but the first show in May 2024, it was probably like 10 weeks out or so, and my body was progressing a lot faster than what my coach and I anticipated. And I asked him, hey, can I jump in? And again, he's somebody who's like, all right, if you got the itch, let's do it. So May 2024, went into that show. Again, I won the women's figure and women's physique overalls in that local show. June 2024, I won the women's physique overall, and then I ended up getting second in my class for women's figure. July 2024, that was my third national show. And this was a big moment for me. So the show in June, and there was only about a week between the second local show I did, June 2024, and then that national show I did in July 2024. But the June 2024 show where I got second knocked my confidence. And so the girl that had won, there was a little bit of talking behind the scenes and talking on social media, and not exactly great sportsmanship. Not on the girl's behalf. I won't say who it was, but somebody within her circle was essentially saying, oh, of course she would win. Her shoulders are bigger than everybody. She was the only one that went up on the stage and actually looked ready for a national qualifier show and a pro qualifier show, and essentially just belittling me, because I think there was an expectation that I would win the overall coming into the show, just given obviously the track record. I let that really get to my head. I thought that I was too small. I went into the national show thinking really subconsciously that I wasn't ready for it. And the way that I realized it was subconscious is because I got out to New Jersey for this national show. And so there's in bodybuilding, there's a pre-judging where essentially most of the judging takes place, and then finals where they hand out awards. Well, this national show, pre-judging happens. When you're in a line of, I think it was probably like 8 or 9 girls, you can't exactly tell where in the lineup you are when you're on stage. The closer to center you are, the better. If you're exactly in the center or splitting center, that means you're first or second. Um, so when I was on stage, I knew I was somewhere near the middle, but I thought I was farther out. Thought I was maybe like fourth, fifth, sixth, I don't know, something like that. I get off stage, I'm calm, I'm whatever. I'm like, okay, wasn't in center, it's fine. Texting my coach, and he sends me a picture of where I am in the lineup, and I'm in the like second or third place spot. And again, you can't tell because if it's an odd number, one, you can tell the person that's in the middle, but then left or right is second or third. And at that show, first or second earned you your pro card. So all of a sudden, I was in the running for my pro card. And I mean, one, it blew my mind, which it shouldn't have because I was clearly qualified enough and ready enough for that. But two, that's when I had realized I didn't even pack an outfit that I would have been happy to go out to dinner and celebrate a pro card in. And then I had realized that I'd literally counted myself out before I got there. And then I was like, I was like, well, that was dumb. Like, obviously, I was more than ready for this. I let all that talk get to my head and psych me out. So I went back to finals. I ended up placing third, so one spot away from my pro card. When the scorecards came out, I was not only one spot away, but 1 point away from my pro card. And that's when I was like, all right, I am done doubting myself. We are going absolutely all the way in. I am winning this pro card. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I started just manifesting in every single way, visualizing. Essentially, I said to myself, I'm not coming home without that pro card. So I had 3 weeks from the show in New Jersey to NPC USA's, which was out in Anaheim, California. I had 3 weeks. The judges' feedback was to get leaner. So we did. I did everything. I was like, I am executing everything 110%, and I am believing myself this time. So went out to Anaheim, California. I actually did women's physique and women's figure at that show. I only did women's figure at the first national show of last year. And after prejudging for both women's physique and women's figure, it was not definitive of, again, I was in that kind of like second or third place spot in both classes. And then that shows the same thing, first or second place got your pro card. Well, I did my women's physique class, that was first. And I ended up getting third place, which going into that show, women's physique, you have to have more muscle, you have to be leaner than women's figure. So I really just wanted to see kind of where I'd stand. And I wanted to, it would have been awesome to win a pro card in women's physique. But coming off the stage, I was just ecstatic. I was even, one spot away from a pro card. Women's figure then did that class. I placed second place, which then earned me my pro card. So, in that moment, I mean, I have a video of my coach got an amazing video of me coming off stage with it. And it's just, I mean, the emotions were wild because it was, again, everything that I've been manifesting and working for and visualizing and knowing I was ready for that going into that show was something that I was able to actually execute on. So it was hugely fulfilling. But that's kind of my start to finish high level bodybuilding where I started to where I am now.
Wow, that is absolutely fascinating. Holy cow. Okay, so I have so many questions. I'm going to stick to the ones that we prioritize, but I mean, I kind of want to jump in and be like, did you have any fear during any of it? Because it sounded like you were kind of like, I'm all in, let's do it. I have an itch. I'm not scared. And I'm realizing there's a lot of confidence during this. And really kind of, it sounds like the only time that you were really thrown off were for those external situations, but like, are you just fearless? Is this just something that's really natural to you? And how did you know you wanted that so bad? Like, talk about those things quick.
Yeah, so I would say I have had a lot of fear along the way. I think at the start of it, it's funny because the more so like fear and intimidation, if you will, of okay, wow, I'm actually starting to like fulfill that potential didn't really start until or really set in until 2024, I would say. And I think that's because prior to that, when I was just starting, it's never something that I thought I would be this good at. It's something that I enjoyed, but there wasn't necessarily that pressure to do well. I would always have the kind of internal pressure of I want to bring my best and I'm going to do everything I can to bring my best. But in terms of competitions, and if a competition didn't go that great, I am a competitive person, so it did sting in that regard. But then in the same aspect, it's almost like that like self-doubt of, it would feel like, oh, it kind of reaffirmed it almost a little bit. And it didn't feel like as intimidating of a goal or of a process until I started consistently winning, consistently getting those overalls, and also started consistently getting like the back talk. That one instance was not the only instance of local back talk and drama and everything either, unfortunately. But that's when it started to set in of it feeling real and becoming more intimidating and becoming scarier. But then in that same regard of realizing I'm starting to fulfill my own potential. I can do this. I'm affirming this. I'm showing it to myself. Giving myself my own self-evidence that I can do it. It kind of gave me that momentum and gave me like the wind under my wings to keep going and knowing that I could do it. And again, after that first national show of being 1 point away, that was so reaffirming of I just need to keep pushing.
What's so cool about that too is my mind instantly went to the devastation. Oh, 1 point away. But what was cool to hear about what you did is you took that as fuel and you were like, no, 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 like now it's all on. Like I'm not going home
Yeah.
still. So that was really cool to hear how you just used it as complete jet fuel and just soared through. That's amazing. Which came first, your personal statement or well, more of your winnings? So like when did you introduce that personal statement? And was it more for work that you integrated into bodybuilding, or did you do the statement near the wins of bodybuilding?
I think it was 2023, I believe is when I drafted that personal purpose statement.
Okay.
When I went through it, I was going through it more so of the lens of both bodybuilding and work because I wanted it to be something that could be overarching in every aspect of my life. Because again, it's that personal purpose statement. It's like what is important to you at your core more so, and what you're taking with you into life in every aspect. So for me, it was kind of both. And that's just been, as I'm making decisions or as I'm sharing my journey, having that as a lens of, I really want to be able to inspire other people and show them I never thought this was possible. Everybody I feel like has goals where they seem huge and terrifying. And I mean, so many of us just let that fear hold us back when really we should be, sometimes you just have to do it scared and you have to almost fake it till you make it kind of thing, but just dive in. Like you're not going to get there unless you start, and you're never going to be fully ready. So starting scared and kind of working through that. And even Heather, with you, in your recent kind of relocation too, it seems like that was really identical to that as well, where at first it seemed foreign, it was scary and whatever, and now you're starting to flourish in that.
Yeah, yeah, when you put it like that, then absolutely. But there's a lot more that comes with bodybuilding and it's extreme discipline. When you opened up in the beginning, you were saying how you have an extremely demanding job. So how do you stay so dedicated and disciplined year after year? Being an elite both in your career and in bodybuilding, how the heck do you do it?
Yeah, so I have kind of a couple points that come to mind, but in general and kind of overarching, the thing that I love about bodybuilding is it really transpires to every aspect of my life. So something, and I'm also a first form athlete as well, and something that they say in a montage that they have is do the little things with excellence. And it's really just doing things. I mean, whether you're in the gym or you're at work, just doing what you're doing with purpose and excellence, I feel like allows you to catapult your progress and continue moving forward. But specifically related to discipline and having hard days, I think it's easy to look at people, successful people, and see them doing well, and it just seems like they're thriving. They don't go through challenges. They don't have bad days. Like they're just nothing gets to them. Like they're just workhorses. They just do it. And a lot of people, even at work and people that I work with or people in the gym look at me and think that, but that's like the farthest from the truth. We all have bad days. We all have hard times. Unfortunately, I wish that wasn't the case. But I think other people, can be better at hiding that, if you will. I personally like to share what I struggle with because I know a lot of people can relate to that. But in terms of overcoming those obstacles, I think first you have to know what your why is, and your why has to be stronger than your feelings and emotions. So, what does your goal mean to you? How bad do you want it? What are you willing to do to achieve that goal? That's what's going to carry you through on those hard days. You can go through a struggling day if you have a compelling tomorrow. So, right now, or if you take it day by day, like some days just, I mean, they suck. They bury you sometimes. And you're at the end of the day, you're thinking, oh my gosh, like, how am I supposed to do this tomorrow? How am I supposed to, go through that tomorrow? But if you have that overarching why that's strong enough and compelling enough, that's something that's going to be able to allow you to push through and carry forward and, give you that strength almost on those weekdays. So another thing too is having a plan. So, you have your why, and I feel like a lot of times, it starts with a spark and an idea, and then that idea becomes a vision, and that vision then becomes a goal, and it's something that you're then working towards, right? But having a very clear plan of how you're going to execute that is extremely important. You can't just get in your car and say, I'm gonna drive to California, but have no map, and instead you end up driving south and you end up in Texas. Like that's you need a very clear direction of where you're going. And I think too, I listened to it was a video recently, a couple talking about burnout and how to manage burnout. And they were talking about how a lot of times when we get to the state of burnout, we just kind of continue to chug through and do our tasks and do what's on our list without like a clear vision of where we're going. And I think that's even more exhausting in itself of like, okay, I'll just figure it out. You have this like goal, and you're like, I'll just kind of like, I think I'm doing stuff towards it. I think I'm making progress, but if you don't have that, okay, here is my clear end goal, and then work backwards to then how am I going to get there in achievable steps? So you have that vision, you have like, okay, I'm in phase one of, there's 4 phases to get to my goal or what have you, just to like ground yourself in that journey and keep you progressing and keep you accountable. I feel like is huge and moving in that right direction and having continual progress. So something I like to think about too, another quote I heard, this was a while ago, but if somebody watched a day in your life, would they be able to tell what you're working towards and what your goal is and what your purpose is? And that really resonated with me because it's like, okay, wow, people say like, oh, get 1% better every day or, get one step closer to your goal every day. And that's easy to say, but are you really living those actions day to day? Like, could somebody actually tell what your purpose is and what you're working towards? So I thought that was super cool. But then third, there's going to be days that you're not motivated. That's something that I think we just have to acknowledge. When you start a journey, say New Year's resolutions for a good example, people are so motivated. They're like, okay, I'm going to do it. I got my plan. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to rock. And then life happens, an obstacle comes up, a challenge, it gets in your way, it throws off your plan. Then what do? You have to be prepared for that moment to happen, for that. How are you going to pivot? How are you going to course correct and get back on track to what you need to do in order to keep moving forward? You can't let life is going to get in the way. Like it's just going to happen. It's never going to be the right time. There's always going to be things coming up. But how are you going to pivot and stay on track? And if it comes to things like, motivation or discipline, that kind of thing, like there's going to be days that you're not motivated. Be ready for those. For me, I love watching motivational videos on YouTube. Those just give me a kick in the butt of just, okay, I'm being a little whiny sissy today. Like I need to suck it up. I can do this. It gives me, again, that like fire where it gets my spark relit. I'll also watch, there's people that I really like watching their training videos too. And just seeing them training hard and working towards their goals also gets me more motivated. And then again, like keeping that why in the forefront of your mind is extremely helpful, and visualizing that goal, like whatever it is, seeing it in your mind. Like for me, it was like them handing me that pro card. Like by the time I got there, it already had felt like I lived that moment because I had pictured it so many times. And when you picture that, like feel the emotions, like let yourself just like take a second, close your eyes, and just like let those emotions wash over you of that end goal. If that doesn't get you reignited and refired up, like that, I don't know, maybe there's something else that does it, but for me, it's huge. It keeps me moving forward. And I think along that note too, make sure you're celebrating the little wins along the way, because I think it's statistically proven or through studies that your brain releases more dopamine along the journey of getting to a goal than ultimately when you get that end goal. Because it's about just kind of building up those small wins, but you need to make sure that you're acknowledging them along the way. This is something I'm still working on and trying to keep in the forefront of my mind, because I'm also very hard on myself. So I try to take a second and recognize the small wins along the way, because really it's the journey. It's not just the end goal. It's who you're becoming along the way to get to that end goal, and the change that you experience that you can then take into the next phase of your life too.
Absolutely. Paige, you have multiple visions going at once. You have your career, you have your beautiful home, and the family that you're building. And then you also have bodybuilding. So if you have 5 minutes left in a day and you can only like do one more thing, how are you going to choose between the goals? Because I'm guessing you have to sleep at some point.
Yes. And I will say sleep, tremendously important as well. Like it's like the most anabolic thing you can do for your body, honestly. But no, I would say I always like to say I'm a type A plus plus person. Like I need everything organized. I need lists of everything that I have going on at one time. So for me, it's about staying organized. So I have for work, I do it in Excel, but I have a different list. It has everything that's upcoming this week, next week, by day, how I'm going to do it, just so it's tracked and I can manage that actively, and stuff is going to come up. So then I can real time kind of shift things around. And then I also have on my phone, I have an app. It's a pretty basic one, but it's essentially like a to-do list organizer that I also plot out by day, and I'll write things down as they come to my brain. I'll just quick put it in there so I don't lose track of it. And so, and that more so came from, there's a really good book called Getting Things Done. So they have it on audiobook as well, but that's definitely a book I would recommend reading if you're struggling with essentially organizing. And nowadays with so much information coming in, and you get an email and you're trying to do this and then you get pulled aside to this, and it's just how to reorganize and put all of your information into an organized system and manage that, I found tremendously helpful. So for me, I have my to-dos at any point in time, and also realizing that something on your to-do list, again, things are going to come up, things are going to shift. Have those core 3 to 5 things that you have to get done, the must get dones before the end of the day. Execute on those. And then the small things, if they need to shift to another day, they can. So if I have 5 minutes left, I can go to my app and I can see exactly what's on my to-do list, and I can knock out what I need to. But as of recently too, I would say like at the end of the day, I am have a goal of connecting with people on social media more so, and keeping up with my responses with people, and just, making sure if they have questions, or, if we're talking about a topic, that I stay engaged, and, just make sure that I'm pouring into other people, like other people poured into me along my journey, and just kind of returning that aspect, and helping people grow along the way as well. So that kind of also speaks to that overarching purpose statement of how to manage your time and manage your to-dos. The other quote I've heard too that really stuck with me is, don't manage your time, manage your focus.
Mm.
If you're just working to work, and you're just checking off like the little things on your list, that's great, but are you avoiding that big thing on your list that you don't want to do? Because that's what really deserves your focus. Or again, what's that goal right now that you really should be pouring into, and what's that next step that's going to get you closer to that in a meaningful way. So just kind of taking a step back almost. And, I think we have a tendency to be just like task-based and going through the motions a lot of times, but like pause, take that step back and say, what am I really trying to achieve here? What do I need to do? And what's a nice to have? Or again, what am I avoiding? I feel like it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, last week 2 weeks ago we were talking about ceiling and floors in terms of goals. What's your ceiling and what's your floor? And kind of setting that for yourself. Have you ever heard of that before?
I haven't in the aspect of a goal, no, but that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'm dying to know what the members on the line are also thinking, especially Steph. This is literally her career is psychology side of sports. So I just want to know if you could go back in time into the beginning of bodybuilding, what advice would you have for your younger self?
I would say to believe in myself sooner.
Mm.
I think I kind of touched on this a little bit, but as I started bodybuilding, it was easy, or I'll say quote unquote easy for me to execute on the plan of following the diet, following the training, more of the X's and O's of getting it done. Because for me, control is the big thing. I like to have control over things. So that's also why I think I gravitated towards bodybuilding, is because it made me have control of everything. But if I really would have believed in myself sooner, I think that would have been extremely beneficial in terms of, the amount of confidence I was bringing into every day, every workout. You can do the X's and O's and check things off your list, but it's also about how you do them and what the intention behind them is as well. So I think I would have progressed even quicker and, been able to go even farther sooner if I would have had that inner confidence in myself. I think it was probably a defense mechanism in trying to protect myself in terms of, again, it was a scary goal and, trying to win shows and everything of not winning doesn't feel good. So if I'm going into a show, I'm wanting to win, but if in the back of my mind subconsciously I'm like, oh, well, I'm probably not going to win anyways, it makes it easier to lose. But
Mhm.
the goal really should be to win each and every time, and executing day to day based on that intention, I feel like is huge. So realizing also, where your mind goes, your energy flows. That's another saying I really like too. Realizing that we control our own thoughts. And the last couple of years, I feel like I've done better of trying to control my own thoughts and own narrative and have that positive self-talk and take the word can't out of my vocabulary. And every time I, start to think negative, I'll self-correct and turn it into a positive and say, nope, nope, we can do this. We're going to do this. I think goes, a huge, huge long way as well. So I think that would have been extremely, extremely beneficial. And I think for me too, sometimes I have a tendency to avoid the hard things. Again, like I talked about the to-do list, like what are you avoiding to do? But the faster you do the hard things, the faster you get the things that you want. So I think just really believing in myself sooner, but I would have gone a huge long way once I got to 2024. And it was kind of after my pro card win, I had a number of goals set out essentially when I started working full time for bodybuilding and personal life of I wanted to make it to manager, which meant I stayed at my firm for 5 years. I wanted to get a house, wanted to win an overall, wanted to win a pro card, which I never thought was possible. So I had all of these goals that I kind of sat back and I was like, oh my God, I think I've achieved all the goals that I sought for myself. I'm like, well, those seemed terrifying at the time. I'm like, well, okay, this is kind of a moment to realize I should have been setting my goals even higher, because if you set your goals higher than what you think is possible, it's going to make you work that much harder. If you set the bar low, you're going to stop your effort. And maybe that kind of comes into that ceiling of goals aspect too. But I wish I would have set my goals even higher sooner because again, that trajectory probably would have happened even quicker. Everything happens for a reason, and these are all lessons that I feel like I needed to learn for myself. But that's definitely something that I would kind of go back and give my younger self as a food for thought.
Yeah, that's absolutely wonderful. And Paige, we'll stay on this page, just because I know all the members on the line. I'm gonna open up the floor for Q&A. We have a small group, so if you just want to state your question, if you have one, you can hop off of mute and opening up the floor right now. So does anyone have a question for Paige about really anything that she's presented today? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess one of the obvious questions stemming off of what you were just mentioning, what's next? What are the next goals?
Yeah. So next big goal, big scary goal, is to now that I have my pro card, is to win a pro show. So if you win a pro bodybuilding show, that qualifies you for the Olympia, which is essentially the bodybuilding Super Bowl, if you will. And so that to me would be kind of like that next ultimate huge scary goal. And then I do have other goals as well. Like I mentioned, starting the YouTube channel is another big goal that's also like a scary one, but something I feel like is going to be really cool and really beneficial. And then just to like continue to grow my network within this sport and see how many people I can help and inspire along the way.
That's awesome. Hope all of that goes well. One of the other things you mentioned is you like to, when you're lacking motivation, watch some motivational videos, watch some training footage. Are those typically competitors that you're watching, like people that you compete against currently? Is it more historic stuff, people who you looked up to when you were first getting into the sport?
Yeah, it's kind of a mix, I'll say. So definitely some of the OGs in the sport, if you will, like the Ronnie Coleman, the Jay Cutler, those videos that I think just kind of transcend time and always get me fired up. Lightweight baby. But then also current competitors, I really like watching. I follow men's bodybuilding pretty closely and the open division specifically. So seeing those guys and seeing the motivational videos of them, going through their preps and getting close to show and pushing through and seeing them, grind it out in the gym, that gives me the energy and the boost that I need. And I also do watch, some, well, I guess now they're co-competitors, other pros in figure women's physique, because that's also relatable to me as well. Jasmine Shire comes to mind, who's Justin Shire's wife. So Justin Shire is a men's open bodybuilding pro, and his wife Jasmine got her pro card. I believe it was late 2023, like December 2023, and her training execution is something that just gets me fired up because it's very controlled but very intentional. So that's something within my training that I also aspire to mirror in terms of my form and execution and just intention when I'm going in the gym versus throwing around heavy weight, no, moving it with intent to grow.
Any other questions?
I guess mine would be obviously you have to put in like a lot of hours for this. So like in a typical week, how many hours do you dedicate to your bodybuilding sport?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think in terms of, so when I'm not in prep, I would say I'm at the gym average of 2.5 hours, 2 to 2.5 hours for my lift and then post-workout cardio. And then during prep, that actually increases because I'll have morning cardio, which I would say is on average like 45 minutes to an hour. And that can be 5 to 6 days a week. And then also that post-workout cardio and the lift. And then I also devote time to posing, so I'll pose for, 15 minutes after my workout and prep mobility. Well, just at any time, mobility is huge and something that I've invested a lot of time. And now I work with a chiropractor in the area, Ben Rodriguez, as well. And he's awesome just for adjustments and then dry needling and like stem cupping, and there's a huge array of kind of recovery modalities that he does. Deep tissue massage. I go to Steve Hahn in the area. So it's a lot of time that definitely adds up as well. And I do go to Metroflex, and there are too many amazing people there. So sometimes I also need to make sure I'm staying focused and not chatting too much too, and just making sure I'm, yeah, staying focused and getting my workouts done. But no, it's honestly, it's like my me time. And it's something that I look forward to, especially on the days if I'm working from home, just like going to the gym and being in that atmosphere of everybody just working hard and trying to better themselves. It's the best time of the day that I spend.
That's awesome because you
Nice, thank you.
devote so much to it too.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, I'm struggling to get to the gym for an hour 4 times a week.
Yeah, and I would say too, for just making sure that you're executing on those goals, one thing that I like to do too is like put it in your calendar. Make
Mhm.
it, and I like to call the things that I need to get done, I like to label them as non-negotiables, because that word to me just makes it, I mean, it is what it is. It's a non-negotiable. I have to do it. And even on those days where, say you only have 30 minutes instead of an hour, doing at least some kind of workout is better than no workout. And also, you're going to feel great knowing that you checked the box in some regard versus being like, oh, I only have 30 minutes, so I'm just not going to do it today, or I'll push it to tomorrow or whatever. Do whatever you can to stay on that track and make sure you're setting look at your week and make sure that you can execute on that. You said you have a busy week coming up this week. Make sure to, kind of plan ahead and make sure that you can fit it in there. But the other thing I've learned along the way as well is that we can't give 100% to everything in our lives, unfortunately. So at some points in life, some things are going to have to flex, and you might not be able to give 100% to your fitness. But maybe during those times, you're 100% on your diet. You're like, I can control this. I'm going to control this. Maybe I can only make it to the gym 2 days. That's okay. But I'm going to control what I can control. And right now, work needs to take priority. I have to do that even now as a professional bodybuilder that works in accounting. Like, I have deadlines, and there's some weeks where I can't get to the gym 5 days, and I might only be able to go 3. That's okay. I control what I can control, and I give all my effort when I am at the gym. Make sure you're mentally present and checking in and saying, okay, this is my time. I'm not going to worry about what's going on outside of the gym. This is my time. I'm going to execute it. And then when I leave, then I can worry about everything else that I have going on.
Hey, I know we're almost at time, but I have a few questions. First of all, yeah, this is very cool to me. You use so many mental training techniques, just coming from somebody who knows that is, and I don't know if you know those words. Did you work with anybody specifically to learn any of that, or did you just check out like books, or like how'd you come about this specifically? Like sorry, my dog. The what was your why part, and like when did you really focus on that? Because I have a sports psychology teacher. Her name is Dr. Z, and that's like a huge workshop that she actually does with like specific clients, is like she'll make them like write out their why and what it is after like a whole PowerPoint of what her why is. So I just think that's very interesting that you know that, since it's like something that's so focused on at UT.
Yeah, yeah. So I haven't worked. So I've worked actually with somebody specific. I did some therapy sessions for, I think it was like 2.5 years total, just working on. I used to struggle a lot more with anxiety, so working through management techniques for my anxiety, specific to the like what my why is. That wasn't something that we specifically talked about. I think that's been something that I've picked up over time through kind of that pathway to purpose. And then also just honestly, like through like the motivational videos and stuff like that too. That's something that I've heard and that's resonated with me. And again, I think a lot of times I had a problem getting into the weeds and like getting lost in the trees versus like stepping back to see the forest. That's another kind of analogy I really like. And that's helped to really kind of ground me in terms of, again, like what's my intention and what am I working towards?
Yeah, super cool. Thank you.
Steph, do you want to ask a second question? We have time for one more.
No, she kind of lumped it into two because I was
Okay. All right. Then I will round this out with a Sunday Shift Club special question. So what is one small shift that you've made that created a big impact in your life? It doesn't have to just be for bodybuilding, but At what point in your life did you go like, this is like one change I'm gonna make, this is what I'm gonna do for myself, and you've just never looked back since?
I think it was really trying to, again, just have that positive mindset and then filter anything that was negative and try to like reframe that into something positive instead and like kind of correct my thought pattern. I found that to be tremendously helpful in terms of just being able to wake up in the morning and attack your day with positivity, if you will. So, and that's something that I kind of need to give myself reminders for periodically, where I'll notice, a week will go by and going into the next week, I'm like, man, I need to mentally check myself because I need to revisit that and get back to being positive. So that's definitely something I think that's like a daily shift that I've done over time. And it's something that I'm still working on and still developing.
Yeah, and you can apply that to anything and any vision that you have. That's awesome, Paige. Paige, thank you so much for your time and for sharing all of this. I'm super inspired from it. I know these people, I know that they're very inspired. How can we stay connected with you?
Yeah, so I have Instagram here, and then as I mentioned, YouTube is coming soon. I'll be putting up my first video essentially this week, so that's super exciting. But yeah, if you want to stay connected on Instagram, I post pretty much every day on my story. No, I do post every day. I shouldn't even say pretty much. It's excessive at times. But if you want to follow along the journey, and then like I said, I always love connecting with people. And if there's questions that come up or things that my perspective would be helpful on, I'm more than happy to share.
Awesome. Well, Paige, thank you so much for everything. This has been super insightful. I didn't even know this much about you, so I just got to learn so much about you, and really, truly, it's appreciated. So, I hope that we all can stay connected in some way. And other than that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who joined and listened to this interview. I had a great time, and I hope you had a great time too. So, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Paige. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Of
thank you.
course.
Super cool.
Thank you.
All
No
right. I
problem.
hope everyone has a great night.
See you, Heather. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.